Almost caught it. Hello out there. Happy Friday, everybody. We're on the air. All right, we're a little bit scrambly today. We've been pretty good lately, though. We've been pretty good. So we'll give ourselves a break today. I also had to do a little bit extra work today to prepare for the show. Get back to our roots here a little bit today. All right, it's going to be a good show today. I got some interesting stuff to talk about. Zap.stream's not working though. What the heck? Here we go. All right. What do we got going on in here? I see a couple people in there. What the hell was that? Let me update the title here. Okay. Well, it is Friday. It is the Daily Bitcoin Journey. And Fat Zap Friday is today. So let's see the fattest zaps of your career. It is the Daily Bitcoin Journey. It is actionable. It's number one. And logical. Number two. Discussion for Bitcoiners and for future Bitcoiners. More so anything else, although it's called the Daily Bitcoin Journey, and the majority of our conversations revolve around Bitcoin, the show is mostly just logic. That's it. I should have just called it a journey logic, a journey through crazy land. Because I feel like that's what, most people show up to hear, is just some fucking common sense in the world. Anyways, we got our winner of today. We got Jay. The best comment. Subjective, of course. Happy Friday to the 2%. So, oh my God, what's going on here? There we go. Had Arnie hair on my face. So I noticed that the 2%, that was a reference to my nostr post last night. So I know the J is on nostr. So, Jay, you can either put you're going to have to actually put your Lightning URL in the chat, and I'll send over 88 sats for you. But what Jay is referring to there is the 2% of the audience here is women. 2%. 98% dudes watch this show. Not overly surprising, but still worth mentioning. So another couple things to mention there. I don't know if you guys give a shit about this or not, but it's kind of interesting to me. Where's the audience? Half the audience here is from the US of A, which also isn't very surprising to me, but kind of cool. 46%, 10% from Canada, 6% from the UK. So big shout out to the listeners from the UK, and Australia has 4%. 2% from Germany, and then about a million other countries randomly. So shout out to the 2% out there and everybody. It's been a lot of fun. We've been doing this for almost a year now, and it doesn't ever seem to get old to me. I remember I've told the story a couple times lately, but when I first started the show, it was going to be like a 10-minute or 15-minute show. I was just going to come on here and talk about a few privacy things, cybersecurity things, because people were getting scammed a lot when I started the channel. And I did it this early at 8 a.m. because I didn't want anybody to show up in the chat, but I had wanted to do a live one so I don't have to edit it or anything. So a year later, we've come a long ways for sure, even though, probably if we weren't talking about certain topics on here, I think the channel would be quite a bit bigger, but I think we're in a perfect spot right now. So shout out to everybody. But Jay, if you want your sats, forfeiting the sats to Arnie. There you go. That's a good move for Friday. Thank you to Arnie. And again, this is Arnie's QR code. If you got a couple sats kicking around you want to share with our buddy, you can just use this QR code for that. Adopted Son 98. That's his URL. All right. What we got over here in Zapstream? See some zaps coming in for Fat Zap Friday. My Path to Fire zap to Hundo. Thank you for that, My Pat the Fire. Noah's over there. Letha is there. Pasty? Is it pasty or pasty? Pasta or paste? Please put that in the chat. Just so I get it right. We got Sunshine and Plunger. And Letha sent 420 sats representing the ladies. Thank you, Letha. Okay, well, let's start the show with this today, because this is one I came across on the Living the Future feed. I guess they're called the feed. I've been uploading the audio. So shout out to our buddy from Australia, Sats Venture Joey. He asked for the audio and he received. So every time I post an audio clip in there, I also throw a quote from Marcus Aurelius, or Stoic quote from this book. So I wanted to share this one today because I thought it was kind of really appropriate for this show and kind of where we are right now in the Bitcoin world. So it's not about Bitcoin, but I think it is about Bitcoin and everything that Bitcoiners stand for. So this one's from October the 8th of the Daily Stoic, and it's called The Higher Pleasure. So this is from Marcus Aurelius. It says, yes, getting your wish would have been so nice, but isn't that exactly why pleasure trips us up? Instead, see if these things might be even nicer. A great soul, freedom, honesty, kindness, and saintliness. For there is nothing so pleasing as wisdom itself, when you consider how sure-footed and effortless the works of understanding and knowledge are. So to me, I mean, Ryan Holiday kind of gives his interpretation of it. But to me, it just exemplifies exactly what we're doing here in Bitcoin. Yes, it would be nice if we put some of our fake fiat money, bought some Bitcoin, it 1,000x'd in a week, and we could all just retire and do nothing for the rest of our lives. I think that's what a lot of people hope for, oddly enough. It's kind of like winning the lottery. You've seen how all that works out. But this whole thing, and that's why I love the name of the show. I think, honestly, and I don't mean to pat myself on the back here, but I think that this is the best name for a Bitcoin show out there. Because if you listen to anybody talk, everybody talks about their Bitcoin journey. And so it is. That's what it's more so about. There's no destination here. It's a journey. And it is all about the kindness, honesty, freedom, and having it said great soul, but just, I would say, aligned soul with what you actually want to be doing. Bitcoin just seems to align so well with all that kind of stuff. So anyways, that's how I want to start the show today. Bodhi is in the house. Good morning, fellow visionaries. As FUD ramps up, let us not forget how early we are and such great things are ahead. Yeah, you guys are going to like the show today. I got some not cryptic, but like some positive things about the future here. We got Dale in the chat. Top of the morning to everybody. New day, new block. Yes, exactly. I posted on nostr this morning, actually. Said the sun came up and the Bitcoin is still producing blocks every 10 minutes. What more could we ask for? Duncan. Hello, everybody. Duncan, I'm going to be sending your prize that you won from me today. I got it finished up. It looks pretty good. Maybe you can post about it or something when you get it. I should have brought it in here today for you, but I figured it'd be better as a surprise anyways. Arthur, good morning. We are on the verge of major changes in the world. The next 6 years are going to be wild. Buckle up, stack sats. Yeah, I agree with you. I think the next 6 years are going to be probably the transition aspect of it, where the majority of people figure out what's going on. But it might take longer than that to get to where I think we're going. Arthur, again, logical journey through clown world. That might be the new title of the show going forward here. That's all it is, really. It's all it is. Bitcoin's just the tool to get us there. Right? Oh, my phone's dying. Had to sleep on the couch last night. Well, didn't have to. We decided to, but Arnie had a really rough day yesterday. Really rough day. He hurt himself on Wednesday night because we take him out to go to the bathroom pretty late at night. So I don't know how well he can see. We also have a flashlight out there that probably blinds him. But anyways, he tripped coming up the stairs, and I think he hurt his foot pretty bad. He doesn't feel hardly any pain. He's got the highest pain tolerance I've ever seen from anything or anybody. But he was limping yesterday. And then, I don't know, something must have happened to his stomach, whether he ate something or whatever it is, but he was sick yesterday. So anyways, we decided to spend the night with him. So my back's a little bit sore. I slept on the couch because he doesn't sleep in our room. Mostly because I'm allergic to dogs, which is crazy. But it's fine. It's just, and that's probably why my voice is a little bit cracky today. But the reason he doesn't sleep in our room, obviously, because, I spend 7, 8, 9 hours in there every night. So if I can breathe some clean air, or not clean, but without Arnie's dander in there, it makes a big difference for me. So sleeping right beside him last night, look at him. He's biting his leg or itching his leg. Okay, Bitcoin Buddha, good morning. Timber Crasher, good to see you, my friend. Timber Crasher is usually the first comment in here. All right. Well, let's get to, I'll keep going through the comments here as we go, but let's get to the mempool. Start with that. I was going to watch the part 4 of Jack show today, but I'm pretty sure we're going to have plenty of stuff to talk about through the show today. So I want to save it for that kind of stuff. We can leave Jack till next week. He's not going anywhere. All right. So the mempool, we're currently sitting at block height 865,180. Fees are up. Fees are way up. 28 sats per VByte today if you're transacting on the Bitcoin Layer 1 network. F2 pool and Foundry are the last couple winners of the block reward. And we are 12 blocks behind currently, looking like a negative adjustment right now. It'll probably change in the next 11 days, but we are 12 blocks behind currently. And so what that means, just quickly, just in case there's anybody, new listeners out there, that means that, and even so, I like repeating these things quite often, just because you hear something once or twice, you're like, okay, yeah, you're on your phone listening to something else for one, but also a lot of this stuff can go over your head quite easily. It did for a long time for me. So with the difficulty adjustment, what that means is we're 12 blocks behind. The Bitcoin blockchain, how everything works, how difficult it is to solve the block equation is based on 10 minutes per block on average. So that's kind of the goal there, is that we want the Bitcoin blockchain to be producing new blocks. We want somebody to be solving the block equation every 10 minutes on average. And so when that falls behind, like we are right now, we're 12 blocks behind, which means it's been taking a little bit longer. That means it's too difficult. There's too many miners. Okay, hold on here. I want to get this right. That means that there's not enough people mining. The equation is too hard. There's not enough people mining. And so that's where we are right now. On the flip side of that, and so then every X amount of blocks, there's an adjustment. So that difficulty adjustment would go down because there's less people mining. It has to go down, right? So if this was up like it was during the last difficulty adjustment, that means that there's more people competing for the next block. Sorry, I kind of mixed that up a little bit, but we got through it. Okay, and also today, we talked about the Moose Jaw time yesterday. And so somebody left a comment on the yesterday's show asking if we could start doing that again. So your wish is my command. This is a show for the people. Oh, that's not what I wanted to do. So here we go. This is our metrics. We used to do these every day, but we've kind of stopped doing them because, it was just kind of a waste of time. Nothing was changing. Fees were the same. Price was the same. So anyways, the last one we did was September 6th, over a month ago now. But this is where we stand today. So again, block height, 865, 179. The fees at this time were 17 sats per VByte when I did this. They're 28 now. The price today, I don't know if this is up or not. It looked like it was kind of going upwards when I looked. $61,193 US dollars. And 1 year ago today, the price, this is kind of crazy, 26,872. So October 11th, 2023, the price of Bitcoin is 26,000. I know everybody's been pretty pissed off about the 58K. Well, last year at this time it was 26. So don't feel too bad for yourself. And 4 years ago on this day, 11,384. So October is usually the month where things start moving after a halving. And so if we look back to 4 years ago in September, the price was 10,000. And October 2020, it's 11,000. So if you are somebody who follows the cycles, if you're a believer in repeating itself, then there hasn't been a whole lot of change. There wasn't a whole lot of change 4 years ago in the same time frame. So if this was like $20,000 or something like that, then I would be a little bit more concerned, but it's not. So the Moscow time today, which means $1 US will get you 1,633 sats. And if you want to be Moscow rich and own 1 million sats, that's going to cost you $612 US dollars. Price today in Canada here, $84,222. And the Moose Jaw time, 1 Canadian dollar gets you 1,185 sats. So you don't get as many sats with the old Canadian dollar. And if you want to be Moose Jaw rich here in Canada with 1 million sats, it's going to cost you 844 Canadian dollar. All right, let's check on, whoa, Bodhi. Look at this. In honor of Fat Zap Friday today, Bodhi with the Fat Zap of the day says, my timing isn't always great, but the intention is there. Keep persevering. For many times I've missed, trying to be true to the name, Bodhi Zapping It. 10,000 sats. Thank you for that. I very much appreciate that. And we're actually going to watch a video talking about, in a roundabout way, the zaps and the sats today. And I also see the Plunger Zap 210 sats. So thank you, Plunger. And I see Ahsoka is in the chat today. Nice fat zap for Friday. Yes. Thank you for that, Bodhi. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, let's give away some Bitcoin. Why not? We're rich. We're rich. We can give away some Bitcoin. We can afford it. Actually, these sats are coming from the Bitcoin Well, who I do need to talk to about a few things. So if you're from Bitcoin Well and you're watching this, please reach out. They're not watching. They're too busy. They're too busy building good stuff. All right. So get your phones out. Get your Lightning wallet out. Press send. And somebody today is going to be winning some sats. We ready? We set? $500 again today. I have a very hard time. I have a very hard time faking emotions. Let me make sure that this has been claimed. One of the, it's probably one of my biggest downfalls in life, truly. Although some would argue it's a good thing. Okay, it's been claimed. So congrats to whoever won the 500 sats today. That is courtesy of the Bitcoin Well, the best exchange in Canada or the US. So you can see here, this is a new feature on the Bitcoin Well. I want to highlight this because this is awesome. you can swap between on-chain and Lightning for free if you have a Bitcoin Well account. That's unbelievable. You know how much that costs you? You know how much of a pain in the ass that is for the average Bitcoiner to try to figure out how to do that kind of stuff? It's impossible. Truly. So Bitcoin Well makes it very easy for free, 0%. So check them out. Go to bitcoinwell.com/Jor. Have people been signing up? Yeah, it's slowing down a bit. So if you're in Canada, if you're in the US, take 5 minutes out of your day today, get yourself a Bitcoin Well account because you're going to need it too. That's the thing. I mean, it's a great exchange. I know you're probably familiar with the one you use already, but it's a great exchange, very low fees. They have the swap feature. They don't hold any Bitcoin. Any Bitcoin you buy on here goes directly to your Lightning wallet, Liquid wallet, or your cold storage. But aside from that, if you're using that code, you get 5 free tosses into the well, free Bitcoin. And it's nice just to have some backups in your life. Even if you have an exchange you use, let's say you use River or ShakePay, Bull Bitcoin, it's nice to have a couple backups because usually when the price is running up or down, that's when a lot of exchanges go down for maintenance. So if you want to be prepared and you want to be on the offensive, then just get yourself a couple different exchanges and use Bitcoin Well as one of those. Okay, well, 21 minutes into this thing. There's no agenda Friday. I have a couple things to talk about, but I don't have anything right in front of me here. The only thing I had was my book. So it's going to be free for all. If you have anything that you want to discuss today, if you have any questions, then toss them in the chat. And if you really want me to notice them, send a zap. Like our friends Noah and Daniel have done today. Noah zapped 1,000 Friday, and Daniel zapped 1,000 for Fat Zap Friday. Thank you, Noah. Thank you, Daniel. All right, where do we begin today? Where do we begin? Am I missing anything right now? No, I think we covered it all. I think we got. Okay. Uh-oh, I didn't send it. Hold on. I need a little commercial on here, something for the times where I forget to do something. Today's episode brought to you by King Golf. We make the best head covers in the world, and they're all made right here in Manitoba. Genuine leather. If you need a Christmas gift, if you got any golfers in your life, check out kinggolf.ca. KNG golf.ca. And use the code 88sats. I don't know if there's an actual discount code there, but I'm pretty sure if you used 88 sats, I'm pretty sure it would give you something. Okay, that's sent. And I know that these hats, this is my favorite hat here. This is a light gray hat with a gold king on it. They're not on the website. It's a special edition, one of one. But if you want one, just shoot me a message. Find a way to get a hold of me. All my contact info is always in the show notes. Email, website, NPub. So just say, hey, I want your hat, and I'll find a way to get it to you. All right, let's start with this one. This was not a whole lot to discuss on here, but still worth mentioning. Justin. I don't know if this is Justin or if it's just in. 9.57 trillion Charles Schwab survey shows almost half its respondents plan to invest in Bitcoin and crypto ETFs. We can probably get rid of this. Plan to invest in Bitcoin, period. 9.7 trillion, half the respondents. I'm not that good at math, but that's a lot of money that we can anticipate going into Bitcoin. You have to remember that the majority of the big money is still not in Bitcoin. And that's why we talk about the line, January 2024. If you were in Bitcoin before that, and at the same time, it's like, I just think that's going to be a line that we look back on. But at the same time, like in 10 years from now, between $50,000 per Bitcoin and $70,000 or 60, whatever we are today, it's not going to make a difference. So if you are here today, if you're watching the show, if you have some Bitcoin, then I would still consider you an OG. You don't have to tell anybody that you got in after the ETFs, but it's still pretty cool that a bunch of average people front ran the biggest institutions in the world. That's going to be something that goes down in history, and just based on the scale of how big it's going to be. It's awesome. So that's the first part. Shout out to our future Bitcoiners from Charles Schwab. Let's watch this one. Should we? Hold on. Okay. So this is another post I saw, and this is McNeil4, but I think his name's Reed. On Nostr. That's where I found this one today. And it just made me think of something I've been thinking about quite a bit. So this is a post from, again, Reed on Nostr. So sometimes I walk through the city and think of all of this divided by 21 million. And the reason why I wanted to highlight this today is because I've been thinking about the same kind of thing. It's very easy to get lost in the price, the fiat price of Bitcoin. And you might feel like, you bought some Bitcoin, you've been buying Bitcoin for the last couple months or couple years, and it hasn't really done that much, right? In terms of the price. I mean, we're up 150% in the last year, but I guess that's not good enough for a lot of people. But if you really zoom out, like I'm talking like really, really zoom out, excuse me. Like we've been watching Ozark, and they do their aerial shots of like over is it the Mississippi River? No, Missouri River, I think. And all the properties along there, everybody, like along the water, the river in the Ozarks, these mansions, every mansion has a boat outside of it, a dock. And it's like, do you understand how much wealth is in the world? That's like and as Reed said, sometimes I walk through the city and think of all this divided by 21 million. That's one city in the world. Then you look at something like the Ozarks. That's just another very small example of how much wealth there actually is in the world that we don't see or think about every day. But all of that is going to be repriced in Bitcoin, and there's only 21 million Bitcoin. So you can start to put this in your own head. You can start to see how valuable one Bitcoin is going to be based on not the fiat price, but the assets in the world, the real assets, not the treasuries, not the bonds, not the stock market, but like the real assets, like real estate, like land, like gold. That's what's going to be repriced in Bitcoin. Everything else is going to like nosedive to zero. But like, think about how valuable and scarce one Bitcoin is going to be at the end of this thing. Truly, truly mind blowing. And it's very hard for the mind to even comprehend that. All right, what do we got here in the chat? Sorry, I'm kind of missing out. Finance and Crypto Show. Good day, great show. Watch when I can. Thank you. Thank you. Austin, afternoon. Good morning here. But afternoon to you. Rai says the soul has died by its imagination. Marcus Aurelius. True. That's a great quote, and it's absolutely true. Duncan says long journey for sure. Absolutely. Rick, have we smashed the like yet? You know what? We had a really tough start yesterday on the show, but I thought we were going to pass our 70 likes. Let's try to hit it again today. I want a lot of people to watch this show because we're going to talk about some important stuff. So press the like, and if you don't mind, I might remind you at the end of the show today, but leave a comment. Just leave a heart, leave a crown, leave a dog, leave anything in the comments. Let's try to boost this algorithm a little bit. the channel's been growing at a good pace, but I think we can do better. And consider it an investment in yourself, because every day that I show up here, every day I make a video about Bitcoin, we're going to bring new people into Bitcoin. And every new person that comes into Bitcoin is going to help your path here. It's going to help your investments. That's how it works. That's how Bitcoin works. That's the demand part of it. The supply is unchanged. We know how much there is today. We know how much there's going to be in 100 years from now. But the demand part is the part that we can actually change. So consider your like, consider your zaps, consider your joining either as a journeyman or a living in the future. Consider that an investment in yourself, in Bitcoin. Because again, every day I show up here, it's helping Bitcoin. It's true. It is true. Silver Fox, Miss V Fudd. Haven't seen Miss V Fudd in a while. Good morning, Jor. Good morning. I don't want to say that's a girl or a woman, but if it is, shout out to the 2% once again. Jason, good morning, my friend. Hopefully, Jason, I don't know if you're going to be able to make it or not, but hopefully you can make it to the meetup in Regina. They announced it officially yesterday with a little poster. Hey, Jor, what do I tell my family this weekend when they ask me, how are your Bitcoins doing? You say, mind your fucking business. I don't know what you say. Just don't talk about it. I doubt they'll bring it up. Not many people bring up Bitcoin if it's not us. So, I mean, probably how I would answer that is I would just say, you know, what would they care about? What would they care about here? And they're probably not too concerned about a bunch of anonymous people sending Bitcoin through Nostr, through Zapstream. They're probably more concerned about the price action of it. So just say, like, I watch the show every day, and at the start of every show, he talks about what the price of Bitcoin is. And I didn't really realize, but you know, today it's 61. This time last year, it was 26,000. Last Thanksgiving was 26,000. So it's up over 100%, 150%. So I'm pretty happy with it. And I think that, you know, historically, these next 6 to 12 months, that's where the majority of action happens. So this time next year, I'll have some better news for you. That's what I would say. Off the top of my butt. AD. Morning, brother. Miss V Fudd says, can you tell us how the housing market is doing in your province? I mean, Manitoba itself is very rural. Like it's not a Vancouver. There's no Vancouver market here. There's no Toronto market. There's no big bodies of water unless you go way up north. There's actually polar bears here. I don't know if you guys know that or not, but there's polar bears in Manitoba. But so it doesn't change much. Like it doesn't go up as much. It doesn't go down as much. It's a lot more consistent. I think it's a much more level. Like nobody's buying property in Manitoba to speculate. Like the majority of, you know, on the West Coast, Vancouver, it's all just laundering. It's all just speculation. Like there's $2 million, $20 million houses that nobody's living in. So we don't really see that here in Manitoba as much. It's a lot more flat. We'll see. It's a pretty good indication of the province here. Flat. Not quite as flat as Saskatchewan. More lakes. Better football team. No, I'm just kidding. That was a shout out to Dale. I don't really watch football. I don't watch any sports anymore other than golf. Senor Gringo Papi. Great name. I was thinking about that today. It's funny. Jay started the show with Happy Friday to the 2%. And I was thinking like, okay, Jay obviously stands for something. And it's so funny to me how men they come up with all these crazy names, like NIMS and stuff like that, and usernames like Senor Gringo Poppy. There's a lot of good ones in here. I know you guys have seen them before, so I don't need to bring them up. And then, women are just like Jay, or they put their real names in there. Like, I don't know why men are the only ones who come up with these crazy, stupid names. But anyways, they said, I assume you're in Canada. Yes, I am. Has Bitcoin talked about in the mainstream news there at all? No, never. I don't think I've ever seen anybody talking about Bitcoin. But the nice thing about, and so if you think back like 10, 20 years ago, that would have been a big problem, because nobody in Canada would have even have known what Bitcoin is. Because, when you're relying on your mainstream media for all of your information, it would have got just disregarded, and nobody in Canada would have any Bitcoin. But thanks to the internet, thanks to YouTube, thanks to the decentralization of everything happening that we're in the middle of right now, lots of people are aware of it, even though there's no mainstream news talking about it. Some of the best Bitcoiners out there are from Canada. Canada had the first Bitcoin ETF too. Lots of great, and again, I think that Canada is in a very tough spot right now. I think that there's a lot of people who are very frustrated with the way things have been run here for the last 9 years. 9 years. That's how long Trudeau's been in power. 9. I don't know how that's a rule. I don't know how that's allowed to happen, but he has been. But I have a lot of hope for Canada. I really do. I think that it's going to take a long time to recover from this mess that he's made and the Liberal government has made here. But on the other side of this, I think that Canada is going to be one of the best countries out there. I really do. We just have so many natural resources. And if we had somebody in charge, if you had somebody, and we're going to talk about governments here right away. So this is my opinion. I do think that governments are going to be around. I think they're going to be a lot smaller than they are today. I think there's going to be a lot more transparency, especially in some of the countries like Canada. But if you had somebody running Canada who actually cared about Canada, like the natural resources here are almost second to none. And the people here are great. I mean, I'm a little biased, obviously, and being so nice and being so friendly has kind of been our downfall in Canada, because we're just like, whatever, it'll work out. Other people have our best interests in mind. Our government looks after us. So it's a big time fault, but at the same time, flip the switch. The people are still going to be great, friendly, nice, kind, but we're going to have a lot more abundance in the future. All right, let me check on the Zap stream right now. Okay, npub 1Q3 says my 69 Zap doesn't show up. I'll see if I got it. And if I did, then I'll say thank you. Oh, I'm locked out. I don't see it there, but maybe it went through. What else we got going on here? Hold on. Okay, I see Mav21 over in Zap stream, and Daniel said that's a fat Zap Mav21, but I don't see it. I'm gonna have to check my LB wallet with a password here. Just give me a sec. Craig's in the house. Good morning, Craig. And Craig zapped 1,000 sats for Arnie's insurance. Thank you, Craig. Appreciate that. And Daniel says those 9 years of Trudeau have bred some of the most hardcore Bitcoiners in the world. I could not agree more. Big shout out, Justin Trudeau, if you're watching the show today. Shout out to you. You've really opened a lot of people's eyes here in Canada to how bad governments can be. And you've created a lot of great Bitcoiners. And that's gonna go forward in a very positive way. I know it's hard to see right now, but if you're from Canada and you're watching the show today, keep your chin up. Keep your chin up. Things are going to be a lot better in the future for us. And again, we still have it pretty fucking good here. Like, that's what we have to keep in mind is, yes, we have an absolute dipshit as the prime minister. We have a journalist as our finance minister. We have, we don't need to get into it, but anyways, it'll change. Governments change. It's going to take a long time to recover from, but on the other side of it, we're going to be good. So speaking of governments, Elon shared this last night, and this is one thing I've been talking about recently on the show is government. And I posted about it on nostr as well. And I just said, like, a lot of Bitcoiners have this very negative look on government. And they think that, 10 years from now, there's going to be no dollar. We're going to be on a Bitcoin standard. Countries are going to go away. Governments are going to go away. And I think that that's very naive to think. It's never going to happen. It's just not. And the point of that, though, is that not all governments are bad. Like, we're kind of at like the furthest end of the pendulum swing here in terms of how bad it can be. Not only with their policies and what they're trying to control, but with the size of the government. Like, I swear to God, half of Canadians work for the government. So when you're working for the government, when you're getting a paycheck from the government to literally do fucking nothing, most people in government, then yeah, of course you're going to support them and you're not going to question anything and you're not going to, ruffle any feathers. So that's the size of government is the problem, not government itself. And so Elon shared this clip yesterday, and I share very much the same sentiment as this. So let's watch this video here. 2 minutes long, but it talks about the size of government being the key.
I'm not an anarchist. I believe in a government, but a limited government. And the government should be limited, in my opinion, to very simple functions. Number one, to defending the country against foreign enemies. I have tried for a long time to see how to make national defense a private enterprise, and I have never succeeded. It's easy to see how to privatize schooling, but I don't know how to privatize national defense. A second function of government, and one which it performs very, very badly, is to protect the individual citizen against abuse and coercion by other citizens, to keep you from being hit over the head, mugged on the street, your house broken into, and so on. And I believe that the government performs that function very ineffectively because it's doing so many things it has no business doing. The third function of government, a very important function, is to define the rules of the game we play. What's private property? If an airplane flies 10,000 feet over your house, is he violating your private property? If he flies 10 feet over your house, is he violating your private property? There's nothing natural about where the line should be drawn. So we have to have some mechanism for making the rules about that, and that is an appropriate government function. And fourth, it's appropriate for government to provide a mechanism for adjudicating disputes about the meaning of those rules, a judicial system. Those are the four essential functions of government, in my opinion, and those are the only functions that are essential. There may be some other areas in which, if you started with nothing more than that, government might conceivably do more good than harm. But from where you are now, if you could only move back in that direction, it'd be marvelous.
It's exactly what I'm talking about. So again, and I don't know if there's anything actionable that we can do from this other than just changing our overall perspective and expectations and mindset going into the future. But just don't expect that government's going to completely disappear and things are going to be structured. If the governments all went away tomorrow, it would be fucking chaos. It would be. I know that we'd probably figure it out eventually, but between then and now, it would be complete and utter chaos. So I think that that's something that we should be striving towards. I think that that's something to look forward to in the future. And a big part of, this is another thing that really drives me crazy about the whole Kamala is good for Bitcoin because it's going to accelerate Bitcoin. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life. And there's so many influential Bitcoiners who are saying that right now. But on one side, you have one government, Trump side, who wants to make the government smaller, who wants to get rid of the Federal Reserve, who was at the Bitcoin conference talking about mining, talking about self-custody, meeting with miners. And the other side of things, that we're going down the same path. They want to increase government. They want to create all these different departments, keep flushing through this money, keep sending it overseas. Hates Bitcoin. They've been, the last 3.5 years, they've made Bitcoiners' life living hell, and they can make it a lot worse than it is. So it's like, how do you look at those two options and think even remotely that that side could be good for Bitcoin? So actually, you know, it was Elon who shared that, and it's Elon who's been talking about his Doge department in the US government, which means Department of Government Efficiency. And he said that he would cut 80% of the government if Trump hired him. He did it with Twitter, and it seems to be working just fine. So there you go. Don't be crazy. Don't think the government's going to go away. And don't think that we need it to. I think that's a real point that I wanted to get across there. Is that don't think we need to get rid of the government in order for us to be, you know, going well here. All right. Okay. So we got, I do see the 69 sats. They showed up in my LB. I also see, hold on. We're missing a couple here. Somebody said, Fat Zap Friday, I've sent you a DM regarding buying a hat. All right. I don't know who that is, but I'm sure I'll see it. So thanks for the sats. And I see a 10,000 sat zap. Good morning in all caps. And I'm guessing that's from our buddy Mav21. So it's not showing up for me, but it is there. And I do see it in the LB. So thank you, Mav21. You want to see a fat zap? I was watching RHR yesterday. And Mav, if you think 10,000 zap is big from Mav, you should have seen the one yesterday. I think it was a 3-digit one. So anyways, big shout out to Mav21. He's an awesome guy. I've had some conversations with him. Big fan of him on Nostr. And he's putting his sats in the right direction for sure. He's investing in Bitcoin. Let's just say that. So huge shout out to Mav21. I very much appreciate those sats this morning, buddy. That's awesome. That is awesome. All right. What's next here? What do we got next? Should we talk about zaps? I came across this video. What do we got for time? 47 minutes. Okay, let's watch it quickly. No, we're not going to watch it. Okay, I already said we would. 3 minutes long. It's I don't know it's Andrew Huberman, I think his podcast is. It was Reed also who shared this on Nostr. And he said why the vibes are so high on Nostr. So this isn't directly about Nostr, but it ties into why Nostr is going to work and Nostr is going to win. So let's check this out. It's 3 minutes long. I don't know if I can. Oh yeah, I can speed it up a bit here. But this is why the vibes are so high on Nostr. Talking about what humans really care about.
There's a really interesting study published in Scientific Reports, which is a Nature Research journal. The title of it is Neural Responses to Intention and Benefit Appraisal Are Critical in Distinguishing Gratitude and Joy. It's a somewhat complicated study, so I'm just going to hit on some of the high points. But basically what they did is they used functional magnetic resonance imaging. So they could look at brain circuitry activation with very high precision. And they had people receiving money in the context of this experiment. And they had some knowledge as to whether or not the money that they were receiving was given to them wholeheartedly or reluctantly. And there were a number of different variables in the study, including how much money was given. So in some cases it was very little, in other cases it was modest, in other cases it was a lot more. And they also varied the extent to which the giver of the money, that they call the benefactor, was doing it wholeheartedly or seemed to be doing it somewhat reluctantly. And they looked at whether or not the sense of gratitude scaled with the amount of money received and or the intention of the benefactor, whether or not the person giving the money was doing it wholeheartedly or reluctantly. And what's remarkable is that while the amount of money given was a strong component in whether or not somebody felt that they had received gratitude, which makes sense. You know, the amount of money is some metric of whether or not somebody feels thanked. The stronger variable, the bigger impact, came from whether or not the person giving the money was giving it with a wholehearted intention and not a reluctant intention. And of course, there was an interaction where the best circumstance, of course, is where the person received a lot of money from somebody who wholeheartedly wanted to give them a lot of money. And they did every derivation of this. But this is important. This tells us many things that extend way beyond gratitude practices, which is that genuine thanks are what count. Okay, we could probably presume that. But receiving genuine thanks is also a strong variable in determining whether or not we experience real gratitude or whether or not it's empty, regardless of the size of a gift. So this constrains our gratitude practices somewhat, but I think in an interesting and important way. You can't make this stuff up. You can't tell yourself that an experience was great or that, I got a lot of money and therefore it justified it, even though, I think that they gave it to me reluctantly, or my boss hates me, but they gave me a raise. That stuff stings for all the right reasons, because there are circuits in our brain and body that are oriented towards these pro-social interactions. And in some sense, what we are looking for as a species, what these circuits want, if you will, is to receive things from people that are giving them wholeheartedly. And that tells us that if we are the giver, that we better be giving wholeheartedly, or we are undermining the sense of gratitude that someone is going.
So I found that pretty interesting. And again, the title of that was called Why Vibes Are So High on Nostr. And it's true. It's very true. And I'm sure if you are on Nostr, if you're somebody watching this who's on Nostr, you understand that. And you understand how powerful it is when somebody out there, some anonymous person that you might have never met before, they enjoy what you're doing. They value what you're doing. And they're doing things out of voluntarily to say thanks. No one's making them do it. You're not putting up like a paywall or anything to watch an article that they want to read, but they're pissed off that they have to pay for it. That's a different thing. When you make a post or you put something out there to the world and they're able to instantly show their appreciation for that, that's where it really hits home. And that's why Nostr is going to win, without a doubt. It's just people don't know what it is yet. People aren't quite there. So anyways, I thought that was pretty important just to, again, I've kind of been talking about it throughout the show, but whether it's myself or whoever out there who you think is, a positive for whatever you believe in, then, show some thanks and mean it. That's the important part, is you have to mean it. And with Nostr, it's voluntary. With Bitcoin, it's voluntary. If you compare that to the fiat world, where if you don't use their money, if you don't pay your taxes, if you don't do what they say, they throw you in jail. That's not too voluntary to me. Whereas Bitcoin, on the other hand, it is voluntary. Nostr is voluntary. And going back to what the Elon clip I showed there, talking about government, Bitcoin very much aligns with nature. And he said that, we can't really make rules and laws based on nature, but we need something in place to enforce those rules, whatever they are. But for the most part, like, nature is represented, I feel strongly about it within Bitcoin. But also small government, it's natural. And anything natural, anything based on nature, always wins, always has throughout time. They can try to stop it. They can try to slow it down. They can introduce a fiat dollar for 100 and some years. But at the end of the day, we're always going to go back to nature and voluntary. And that's what Bitcoin is. That's what Nostr is. So that has been a presentation called What Nostr Means to Me. All right, let's catch up on some comments here, and then I want to talk about the main part of the show today, which I'm pretty excited to share. Okay, I'll start with Zapstream here. My Path to Fire says, agree, Jor, that isn't going to happen. Governments are here to stay. Most likely there's no difference depending on who gets elected. Well, the other thing about that is, I agree with you. That's kind of where we've been, but we now have the ability. And as long as we can get a few key pieces in place here, I think in these next couple of years, things are going to change. I really believe that. And we already have things like using Bitcoin for voting. Like, the technology already exists. We just need a couple key pieces, influential pieces in place to implement that. And I think it was where there was a Paraguay, maybe they ran their election based on with Bitcoin. And so it was very fair election. And I think that is the only way that you're going to get people's trust back, because it has been broken. The trust has been broken, and you need something that cannot be disputed if you want to move forward here with a government. Craig says, Argentina is an example of what happens when government is cut quickly. Short-term pain, hopefully long-term gain. Elon would be good. I agree with that. Noah says, accelerationists value the fact that people will have to wake up given how bad things will get under Harrison Walt's administration, but agree it'll cause a lot of suffering for us Bitcoiners. We already have severe PTSD from all the FUD and choke points. Yeah, I agree with that. And Noah, I think that you're absolutely right in terms of people will have to wake up given how bad things have been. But at the same time, like, we've already had 3.5 years of Biden and Harris. And, you know, there's going to be 10% of people who just like fall for anything, who have suffer from severe Trump derangement syndrome, and who will never wake up, regardless of who's in charge. Regardless of how bad it gets, they will never change their mind on that. But I think we've already seen enough bad things. Even, you know, there was stuff, Obama kind of started this whole train. Even during Trump, though, there were some things that woke people up. COVID was one of them. Whether that was his doings or not, it doesn't matter. It happened under his administration. And so then you go 3.5, 4 years under Biden and Harris. And I think that if you haven't waken up to things yet, I truly don't think that you ever will. So I agree that it'll probably wake a few more people, but I think we're already past to the point of like enough people care. I really do. Because these last couple of years, this last decade's been pretty tough for the kids. Sunshine says Joro's Bodhi who gave 10K sats. Well, it was Bodhi gave, and Mav 21 as well. Yeah, it didn't show up in mine either. Primal says, become a sovereign citizen so you don't have to pay tax to the state. Yeah, agreed. And My Path to Fire says maybe freeing Ross will be worth a vote for Trump. Of course it will. He said day one. And it's like, yeah, people think, you know, until he actually does it, we're not going to put too much faith in him. But at the same time, if you look at some of the things that Trump said in his administration and the things that he did, there weren't too many things that he didn't do that he said he was going to do. And yes, we haven't seen a lot of them play out yet. But you have to remember that there's so much that happens behind the scenes that we are completely unaware of, like completely. So for the most part, there was a lot of things that he did that helped America. I think that was a big part of it. You know, he did the majority of things he said he was going to do. People like to hold him against like draining the swamp. But if you look at how much has changed in the last 5 years in terms of the swamp, how much has come out about them, how much has been exposed, not only like the swamp within DC, but the swamp within Hollywood, the music industry, government, of all around the world, not just in DC. So yeah, I mean, like, are they still in positions of power? Maybe. You know, call me crazy, but I'm one of the people who believe that things that we see are much different than how things are. So take that how you want to, but that's kind of my thoughts on it. Ahsoka says, I'm having a better viewing experience than Zap.stream and Sas.gg on Nostrudel. I love Nostrudel. If you're somebody who's on Nostr, if you have an NPub, check out Nostrudel. It's a great place. You can watch all the live streams on there. My Path to Far says one president at a normal age. Yeah, no doubt, hey. Although, I don't know, call me crazy, but I'd rather have somebody with some life experience. Biden obviously is much too old. Trump probably too old as well. But somebody in like the 50, 60, like I would much rather have somebody from that experience level, we'll call them, not age level, but experience level. than somebody who's like 30. You know, do I think I could run a country? No, I can't even run down this road. So that's the problem with politicians, and that's the problem with politics itself, is the people who believe that they can actually run a country are mentally ill for the most part. Like their ego is way too big for any sort of power to be given to them. And the other part of that too is the majority of politicians they're not senators, they're not congressmen, they're not presidents or prime ministers because they've made good decisions and made people happy. They're in those positions because they've done some very bad things, and blackmail is a real thing. People fail upwards. So the worse you are, the dumber shit you do. A lot of it gets caught on camera or caught through the NSA or the people who have that ability. And then they get extorted or blackmailed into making these dumb decisions. Tough to hear, but it's reality. So, okay, let's and sorry if you're on Zap.stream and you're sending some zaps, they're not all showing up for me. So I'll check at the end of the show. But Rai says, I'm sure you've said it 88 times, but why the name 88 Sats Radio? Very long. No, it's not a long story. Basically what happened is with our golf company, King Golf, being a Bitcoiner, we tried a whole bunch of different things, accepting Bitcoin. We actually started accepting Litecoin right off the start because I thought it'd be easier for people to send. But anyways, move past that. I wanted to incorporate Bitcoin into our golf company. And so I had this idea of not selling, but giving this vision to people of like the long-term aspect of Bitcoin. Because most people, I think of Bitcoin as like a get rich quick kind of thing. You buy some Bitcoin, in a month you can retire or buy a new car. But I really want to change, the people that I have the influence over, or people within my network, I'll say. I wanted to change their mind on that. And so what I said is like, here's what we're going to do. We're going to find 88 people. People are going to buy some Bitcoin. We're going to start a fund. And in 10 years from now, we're just going to sit on it. We're not going to do anything. We're not going to have to make any decisions. We're just going to sit on that Bitcoin for 10 years-ish. And at the end of that, based on what's happened historically and what I think is going to happen in the future, we're going to be able to use that fund and buy our own golf course. So it was 88 people we found within a couple months, which blew my mind because hardly anybody had Bitcoin or even knew what Bitcoin was. And instead of asking them to send cash and I would buy the Bitcoin, I actually helped them buy Bitcoin, like sign up for an exchange, buy the Bitcoin, learn how to send it to the wallet. So everybody had to do that. Nobody could send in like cash and I would buy Bitcoin on their behalf. So we found 88 people. We started a little corporation here in Canada. There's people from all parts of the world who are part of that. And it's in a multi-signature setup. So we did it. And that's what kind of started the 88 Sats project. And then so I had this YouTube channel because I was talking to people about the project itself, and it just evolved into this. So it's kind of perfect, honestly, because those are the two things that I love or that I enjoy most are golf and Bitcoin. So it's kind of cool how they came together. All right, let me catch some comments over here quickly, and then we'll watch the video I want to watch. Market Anarchy says, being a hodler changes you, encourages patience and having a low time preference. Yes, just like I was talking about there. Think about 10 years, not 1 year. You see it reflected in other parts of your life. Somebody posted on that. I think it was on either Twitter or Nostr, but I left a comment saying, Bitcoin changes every cell in your body. So if there's ever like a museum or a quote on Bitcoin, a book on Bitcoin quotes, I want to be in that. I want my quote to be, Bitcoin changes every cell in your body. And it does. I'm sure you can all relate to that. Roland, happy Friday, bro. I hope you're doing well. Thank you. Back at you, my friend. Noah's over on both chats here. Love that. Love No Agenda Fridays. Only Satoshis. We got a new face in the chat. No, it's not. But a new name, I think. I've been to Saskatchewan's Regina. Regina, the city that rhymes with fun. Many underestimate Bitcoin's value. We all need more practice using it every day as a means of currency exchange. Practice muscle memory. Muscle memory. Yes. I think the thing that most people should be practicing right now, if you're going to be working on that kind of thing, is your security setup. And I think a lot of people in Bitcoin really take that for granted in terms of they buy Bitcoin, they send it to their cold storage, they write down the words, and then they forget about it for the next X amount of years. There's a lot of people out there who've done that. And so we think like, yeah, 3 million sats, 4 million sats have been lost. I think there's a lot of sats that we don't know about yet that are going to be lost. So if you're doing anything as practice in your muscle memory, make sure you know your security setup like the back of your hand, truly. Because whenever you're going to really need that, whenever you're going to need your 12 words, there's going to be an emergency. Whether it's your house on fire, you're grabbing it, you have to know where it is. Whether somebody broke in your house, they took your safe, and you need to restore that before they can. You're going to be in duress, and you're not going to have time to really think. You're just going to have to act. So the better you can know your setup and know where everything is, know how to do it, the better off you're going to be in case something bad does ever happen, which is the only time you're actually going to need it. Bren says, this is going back to Thanksgiving dinner. Great. My Bitcoins are up 130%. TTM. How's your portfolio doing? What's TTM mean? I don't know. I can't even guess. All right. This is getting there's a lot of comments in here, folks. I like it, but I just hope we're not boring people here. I'll try to just point out the ones I want to talk about here. Bitcoin is still pretty in Canada. Here in Georgia, we have Bitcoin ATMs at every gas station, and Bitcoin is talked about daily on the news. Interesting. Actually, we drove to Florida from here last year, about a 28-hour drive. And so we went through a lot of we went through Georgia, stayed in Georgia, stayed a night at a gas station in Georgia in the car. Probably not our most responsible decision we've ever made, but it's a good story. But yeah, I did notice that almost every gas station that we stopped at had a Bitcoin ATM in it. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. And yes, I agree. I could not agree more with this statement here from Market Anarchy. The spread between the Canadian people and the Canadian government is perhaps the biggest of any country. It's wild. Canadians would have made great Americans. Yeah, agreed. I think if we could have some sort of hybrid, and this could easily happen. Don't forget, like, I know it's very easy to focus on where we are today in like the last 100 years, but don't forget, like, it's not like the Earth, it's not like life just popped up one day and all of a sudden we had this map of the world and all the borders that were here now or here were there then or here now. Like, things change. So who knows, maybe in our lifetime, maybe Canada and the US will just be one country. Because it is pretty insane to me that, you drive 5 miles down the road and you're completely different world. Like, I'm not too far from the American border here, probably 2 hours. And like here, my life and there's towns that are a lot closer than me here, but like the comparison there between Canada and the US, just because of an invisible border there, you need borders obviously, but at the same time, how we have them in Canada and the US doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. So all right, look at this. We got Sergio in the chat. And TTM means talk to me. What was the comment there? up 30%. I don't know if that fits or not. But anyways, fake Sergio. Went from Sergio to Dr. Sergio to fake Sergio. So, dude, I just downloaded the Chevron app and I used Bit Refill to get a gift card and fueled up my truck the other day. Amazing. I'm needing dollars less and less. That's the goal here. That's the goal of this whole channel. It's not to become rich, although it's going to happen. But the real goal of this channel and what I hope to help people with along this journey is moving from the fiat system to the Bitcoin world. That's it. And when we're there, we're going to see the benefits of that. And the faster you can do that, the better you're going to be, obviously, but you don't want to go as fast as I did. Let's just say that. But it's your choices. It's your life. It's the decisions you make on a day-to-day basis that will either accelerate that or slow it down for you personally and for the overall consciousness of the world. So again, we talked about it last week, but if you have a list of things that you can do, that you want to do, that is going to help you move from that old system into the new world, just focus on that. Set your sights on the orange horizon. But yeah, I agree. I know that over these next couple of years, I'm going to be almost completely out of the fiat system, other than like a mortgage, stuff like that. But I think that there's going to be even with Bitcoin Well now, you can basically have your paycheck deposited directly into Bitcoin Well, and then you can pay your bills with Bitcoin using Bitcoin Well. I'm pretty sure. I've never done it myself, but if I signed out. So these things kind of already exist. It's just you have to have the balls and the conviction to do it. Wyatt says, I don't know. We have it good here. Life has been a lot more expensive and terrible the last couple of years. I mean, yeah, for the most part. It also depends on where you are. I know that if I lived in a big city, I would have a much different view of the world. And I decided to move out of the city a couple of years ago, and I haven't spent 1 second regretting that decision. But at the same time, it's like, yes, Canada is unrecognizable from 10 years ago, but think about like some other people in the world. Like I was listening to this talk at the Bitcoin conference yesterday, and I think it was Venezuela, but their dollar had been devalued by like 5 mil. I forget what it was. It was insane. Not like over the last couple of years, but like month to month, how much that dollar has depreciated. So yeah, I mean, it's not good here, but at the same time, like there's so many people in other parts of the world who have it way, way, way worse than us. So agree with you, but also disagree with you. Jason says, being Canadians is a solve for a compliant populace. 100%. 100%. I see why many great Canadians leave to the US, but really should stay and take control of the government and wake people up. I agree. Honestly, like this is something I go back and forth with all the time. I could tomorrow. I could leave Canada very easily. I mean, my family's here, my friends are here, but at the same time, I think that that's the cowardly way out. I do, and I know that there's going to be some people pissed off about that. Let me rephrase that. I understand it, but I still think that the fight should be here. As a Canadian, I'm a very, very proud Canadian. I am. And I know that the last couple of years have been shitty for us, but like you can't just run away. Unless your life is like endangered, I think you should stay here and fight. I really do. And the other side of that is like, I know we're only here for a certain amount of time. Why torture yourself? Why, pass up the opportunity to go somewhere else? I get that. I really do. And so I'd never hold it against anybody for wanting to do that. But me personally, I think that, I believe in Canada. I believe in North America. And I believe that on the other side of this is a much better world. And if we just leave, then this whole thing is going to be overtaken by some very nasty people. So I don't know. Who knows? Okay, so let's watch this video. Let's watch this video. This was Tesla's presentation last night. I don't know how many people watched this, but I watched some of it and I was absolutely blown away by what they got up their sleeve and what they're rolling out right now. So, you know, you think of a company like Tesla, and I was thinking about this today. Like, if you watch this video, if you watch everything that they did at this announcement last night, this is how companies should be doing things. This is how marketing should be. Like, yes, I know I can imagine how much they paid to put on this production, but this really reminds me of how revolutionary Apple was like 10, 15 years ago. You know, when Steve Jobs would go up on stage, he'd have his black turtleneck on and he'd be showing all the different features. Like, nobody else was doing that at that time and putting it on the internet for everybody to see, having their products out there. Like, nobody else really was doing that. And I think now you look at a company like Tesla, they are doing this at a much bigger scale. And you compare that to other companies, like big public companies, there's just so much redundance in some of those companies. They've just gotten too comfortable with the status quo, and they just piss away so much money on the stupidest things. You know, whether that's I know I don't think my buddy watches this show, so I can kind of throw him. I'm not throwing him under the bus, but like, one of the guys in our golf league, he works for a public company, big public company. And in the 5 years I've been golfing with him, he's used nothing but brand new Pro V1 golf balls, which cost about $8 or $9 each, with the brand of the company on it. And I've never seen him use anything else. Me, on the other hand, I don't think I've bought golf balls in my entire life. I find balls and use them, or get gifts or whatever it is. But just that alone, that's a very small sample of like how these big companies work. They just piss away so much money on nothing because they've always just had their stake, their claim there in the status quo. So I can't imagine how many balls he's gone through. This is one employee of theirs. And then you compare that to Tesla and what you know, they spend their money on it. I think that this was so incredibly well done. And I want to talk about, we're going to watch this. We're going to watch the robots that they rolled out. And then I want to talk about it. I think that because I have my opinions on it and my first thoughts on it, but then I actually reflected on it a little bit. And I really want to tie in some of the stuff that we've been talking about on the show with what they're rolling out here. So let's watch this. We'll probably watch about 5 minutes of it, maybe 4 or 5 minutes of it, and then we'll talk about it. So this was from their announcement last night. And I hope we're starting in the right spot here, but I think it might just be kind of randomized. But anyways.
Compute, you have 100 gigawatts of compute, which is really quite substantial. Will be somewhat overspec. Be capable of full autonomy unsupervised. And that means that our cost of producing the vehicle is low. Now, we are going to actually overspec the computer for the Cybercab. So our AI5 computer will be somewhat overspec'd. And because I think there's actually also an opportunity, sort of like in Amazon Web Services, where if the car is driving for 50 hours a week, there's still over 100 hours left. And there's a potential there to have a massive amount of distributed inference compute, where if you've got, like, say, a fleet of 100 million vehicles and a kilowatt of efficient inference compute, you have 100 gigawatts of compute, which is really quite substantial. And if it's there, you might as well use it. So yeah, so that I think will make sense. So, all right. So our autonomous future is here. As I said, we've got 50 Teslas.
Okay, I was going to wait to the end to kind of touch on a few things, but I don't want people to forget what he's talking about here. So he just said that the vehicles there are going to they overspec, which means they put more power into them than they really need. So he said 100 gigawatts of compute there. And he said if it's there, you might as well use it. So just tie that into kind of everything within Bitcoin and everything that we've been talking about in terms of, mining Bitcoin, running a node. Like these are going to be things that are possible in a vehicle, or giving it to, allocating that compute power to an AI infrastructure, like AI infrastructure, something like that, where you have this car, it's driving, but you have all this additional computation power that you can put to use, and you can monetize that. He didn't say any of that. He didn't mention Bitcoin, but like that's what comes to my mind in terms of what they're going to be able to do with these. And don't get me wrong, I don't love the fact that the electric vehicles are using batteries, but the technology is there. And if it's powered by something, I think that in the future, it's going to be powered by like a very small micro nuclear power, which is a lot more, a lot better than digging this lithium out of the world. But anyways, it's about the technology, it's about the compute power. That's what I wanted to focus on there.
Driving autonomously. We're trying to give you a sense of what cities will be like in the future. And when you get in, you'll see like it's really quite a wild experience to just be in a car with no steering wheel, no pedals, no controls, and it feels great. So, and we have enough vehicles here, so everyone should be able to try it out and experience the set that we've built here. It's a very big set, so it's like really we've used I don't know, 20, 30 acres or something like that. It's really big, so it goes on. The ride's long, and we set it up to feel like a ride, like a park ride. So it'll be cool, and you'll get to experience it tonight. Something we're also doing is, and it's really high time we did this, is inductive charging. So the robotaxi has no plug. It just goes over the inductive charger and charges. So yeah, it's kind of how it should be. Thanks, guys. I love you too. So one of the things that is really interesting is how will this affect the cities that we live in? And when you drive around a city, or when the car drives you around a city, you'll see there's a lot of parking lots. There's parking lots everywhere. Parking garages. And so what would happen if you have an autonomous world is that you can now turn parking lots into parks. And so we're taking the ing lot out of parking lot. Welcome. So there's a lot of opportunity to create green space in the cities that we live in. So that would be quite fantastic. Oh, and also, what happens if you need a vehicle that is bigger than a Model Y? The Robovan. The Robovan is we're going to make this, and it's going to look like that. Now, can you imagine going down the streets and you see this coming towards you? That'd be sick. So this can carry up to 20 people, and it can also transport goods. So you can configure it for goods transport within a city, or transport of up to 20 people at a time. So this is gonna, the Robovan is what's gonna solve for high density. So if you want to take a sports team somewhere, or you're looking to really get the cost to travel down to, I don't know, 5-10 cents a mile, then you can use the Robovan. Some people call it the Robovan, but so yeah. One of the things that we want to do, and we've seen this with the Cybertruck, is we want to change the look of the roads. The future should look like the future. So, speaking of robots, so everything we've developed for our cars, the batteries, power electronics, the advanced motors, gearboxes, the software, the AI inference computer, it all actually applies to a humanoid robot. It's the same techniques. it's just a robot with arms and legs instead of a robot with wheels. And we've made a lot of progress with Optimus. And as you can see, we started with someone in a robot suit, sort of down, and then we've progressed dramatically year after year. So if you extrapolate this, you're really going to have something spectacular, something that anyone could own. So you can have your own personal R2-D2 C3PO. And I think at scale, this would cost something like, I don't know, $20,000, $30,000. Probably less than a car is my prediction long term. Now, take us a minute to get to the long term, but fundamentally at scale, the Optimus robot, you should be able to buy an Optimus robot for, I think, probably $20,000 to $30,000 long term. So, and what can it do? It'll basically do anything you want. So it can be a teacher, babysit your kids. It can walk your dog, mow your lawn, get the groceries, just be your friend, serve drinks, whatever you can think of, it will do. And yeah, it's going to be awesome. And I think this will be the biggest product ever of any kind. Yeah.
Okay, this is the important part here, and it's funny because what he's about to say here is so crazy to a lot of people that listen to what he says and then listen to the reaction of the crowd. It basically, nobody really comprehended what he's saying here.
Because I think everyone, of the 8 billion people of Earth, I think everyone's going to want their Optimus buddy. And there's going to be maybe two. And then they'll be producing products and services. I predict, actually, provided we address risks of digital superintelligence, 80% probability of good outcome. Look on the right side. The cup is 80% full. The cost of products and services will decline dramatically, and basically anyone will be able to have any products and services they want. It will be an age of abundance, the likes of which people have almost no one has envisioned. It'll be something special. So, now one of the things we wanted to show tonight basically anyone will be able to have any products and services they want. It will be an age of abundance, the likes of which people have almost no one has envisioned. It'll be something special. So, now one of the things we
Okay, couple things there. Couple things. First of all, wow. That is insane. The cars, self-driving cars. So, okay, I'm gonna maybe touch on a few things, and I'm gonna talk about like my spin on it and what I thought of when I watched this stuff. So the self-driving cars, but did you see that other thing, like the transportation for like a party bus or transporting goods or teams? Like how incredible would that be? It will be. So, and then you got the robots there, and he said that 80%, they're quite certain it's going to do good. I mean, it could go wrong. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that having robots walking around the earth is going to be a good thing. But at the same time, what he said there is that in the future, people are going to be able to have whatever products and services they want. And because that's such a shock from what we have today, where people can barely afford to put food on their table and people are literally living outside on the street, that's where we are today. And he's talking about a world where anybody will be able to have any product or service that they want. And he's not joking when he says that, but the disconnect there is that people don't understand is that the only way that happens is when we move from the fiat world onto a Bitcoin standard. That's the only way that works. And he understands what's coming here. He's way far ahead of me and way far ahead of anybody that I know. But he understands that that's coming. And the reason why that's going to happen is because if you think about the fiat system, the small group of people who have the ability to print money and control things, and the people like us who go to work and pay taxes to pay those people, when that disappears, and when that's how the system has been run for as long as we can remember. But you replace that. You replace the fiat with Bitcoin. You replace the big governments with small governments. You replace people going to work with those things. Then what happens? Is everybody going to be broke, fighting robots, wanting their job back? No. No. Those things are going to be able to do what humans don't want to do today. Even though we're getting paid for it, we feel like we're, adding value to the world for ringing through groceries. Robots are going to replace those jobs. Those robots, between AI and robots, most people's jobs are going to be replaced. And so what does the world look like at that point? Well, some people might think, a horror show. Some people might think worst case, but think about that. If you didn't have to go to work and bag groceries for 10 hours a day to barely survive, to barely be able to afford food and gas and electricity, think about the other side of that. And the only way that's going to work is through hard money, Bitcoin, scarce asset. And so it's coming. Elon knows that. And the beautiful thing, so kind of what I was thinking, I was like, okay, $30,000. Am I going to want a robot? I don't know. But you also have to have the mindset of $30,000 today, and where you are in your position is going to look a lot different in 10 years if you hold on to your Bitcoin and you have that as your purchasing power. So that's number one. He said anybody's going to be able to afford anything that they want. But to me, when I saw those things, first of all, I was like, okay, well, I'm never going to own a self-driving car probably in my lifetime. Even though they're going to be available, I don't really trust it, to be honest with you. I watched The Office, where even Google Maps, like the GPS, that it took a route and it drove the car right into it wasn't self-driving, like Michael Scott, I think, was driving it, but it took a wrong turn, and they were following the map, and they went right into a lake. So for me, I probably won't ever be in a situation where I'm going to have a self-driving car, maybe, but it's going to take a lot of trial and error before I put myself in one of those cars. But I was thinking maybe I'll just live here in the country. Maybe I'll own one of those cars, but I'll just leave it in the city, and it'll be like my employee. Do you see kind of where my vision is for this? And so you buy a car, assuming we're going to have a lot of wealth in the future if we're owning the asset that everybody wants. And so you don't need to live in that world, but you can be a beneficiary of it, or beneficiary. And, in 50 years, 100 years, I have no idea where we're going to be. So I can't think that far ahead. But just in terms of my life right now and what I would want, I think that would make a lot of sense. To live in the country, drive an old car that nobody's tracking, and rent out your car in the city. And not only rent it out to give people rides, but the compute power there. You can sell some of your power to maybe mine Bitcoin in the trunk, or sell it, point it towards an AI company, something like that, right? The cars are going to be totally different in the future. They're not going to be a money suck. They're going to actually be an investment for the people who can afford it. And then past that, he's thinking way far ahead here. But that's kind of where I was thinking about that. And so even if you go a step further, and let's say that we did adopt this technology, let's say I did get a self-driving car, and I got a robot he's holding my notes here for me to watch. He's bringing me a new coffee right now. He's feeding Arnie. Let's say I go down that road. Keep in mind here, and this is another thing that we've been talking about on the show, is that you're going to be able to own that data, right? It seems like a very scary, futuristic horror show of a world that we're going to be living in. But if we go to where we want to go in terms of the open source, then you're actually going to own that data. So you're going to have a robot, and he's going to bring me coffee, and he's going to know that this is my third cup of coffee today. Maybe he makes coffee in his stomach. Who knows? But so he's going to say, okay, this is George's third cup of coffee. In the current world today, that information would be sent to a centralized server and sold to other companies. But the world that we're moving into here, the decentralized open source world that we're moving into here, I'm going to be able to say, okay, this is my third cup of coffee. All that data is going to go towards my Start9 server. It's going to be held there. And at the end of every week, I'm going to be able to look through all my data, how many cups of coffee I had, how many times we fed Arnie, how many times, I don't know, how much TV I watched during the week, right? What websites I visited. I'm going to be able to look at all that data and sort through it and say, okay, well, I'd rather keep this stuff private, but I'm okay selling this stuff. So that's how people are going to make money with this kind of stuff. It's not going to be going to work and begging groceries. It's going to be just living, doing whatever you want to do. And the further ahead you can get at this, the more you're going to benefit from it. But this is going to be people's reality. And so you're going to be able to look at your data and you're going to say, okay, this is what I want to be able to, I'm okay sharing this with people. Like the amount of coffee I drink in a day, I don't mind sharing that. My internet history, I don't really care for people seeing that, to be honest with you. Regardless if it's good or bad, I don't need people seeing that. So I get to decide that though. That's where I'm going with this. I get to decide that. So I can say, okay, here's all my data. And then you put it up for auction to the companies who are interested in obtaining that data from you. And so they'll give you, 1,000 sats for it then. And that's going to pay your expenses for the week. I mean, I don't know what more you want. That's the thing. And that's kind of like the main message of today for the show. We're an hour and 36 minutes. And I think this is the longest YouTube video we've done so far. We're not done yet either. It's Friday. I wish I did have a robot here because I would love another cup of coffee. But the point of this is that focus on that. Focus on the good. Don't see a robot. Don't see the stuff and think like the worst case. Understand that we're moving in the right direction here, not the wrong direction. We have the ability to control that. And it's kind of, we can help it or we can hurt it, but either way, it's going that direction. So just understand that. And no matter what is going on in your life financially or whatever it is that's stressing you out, just think about that. Just enjoy the fact that we're here, that we get to be part of this whole thing, part of this transition into this crazy fucking world. But just don't worry too much about it because in 10 years from now, none of it's going to matter. How much debt, how much money you owe right now is not going to matter then. It's not. And it's very hard to comprehend that and to truly believe that in your stomach. But it's the truth. Because we're still valuing everything. We're still living in this fiat world, it's dead. People just haven't realized that yet. So the more you can understand that, the less you worry about that, the more you focus on where we're going here, and the more you can set yourself up for that world, the better off you're going to be. But you have the ability to control that yourself in terms of up here, right? Sorry, I've been missing a lot of these comments over here. But, oh, my Zap stream's running low. Whoops, let me top that up. We got the sats to do it today. Okay, we're topped up. Zapstream is going to continue. Long live Zapstream. All right. So that was pretty cool. And I'm sorry, I'm way behind in the comments here. I'm hoping people enjoyed that. But it just goes to show, like, a lot of people will see that and be very worried about it. But if you understand what's happening and where we're going to, it's very exciting. This is from 50 minutes ago. Sorry, everybody. It's hard to actually have a decent show and talk about things that people care about. Plus, pay attention to everything here. But Kev says, what are your thoughts on religious institutions such as churches accepting Bitcoin for donations or even holding it on their reserves? Should they consider adopting or open to the idea? Whether it's a church, whether it's a community fund, whether it's any sort of project, The ones who are holding Bitcoin today, whether it's $500 worth, $1,000 worth of Bitcoin, whatever that is, they're the only ones that are going to have the staying power through all of this. So I don't think that it's just a good idea. I think that it's 100% necessary. If a church or an organization, not for profit, anything like that, if they want to be around in 10 years from now, they have to get some Bitcoin. They have to get some Bitcoin. Otherwise, they're going to be selling their church to pay their bills, or selling their venue to pay for bills, selling their building to pay off their bills. That's the direction we're moving. Look who showed up. Look who it is. Okay. He's kind of sick. We'll give him a break today. We'll give him a break. Rob says, happy Thanksgiving, Jordan. My favorite Bitcoin. Whoa. My favorite Bitcoin show on the internet. You take the time to answer everyone's questions, no matter how difficult or stupid. Appreciate the hard work. Keep it up. Thank you, Rob. That is very, very much appreciated. I try to anyways. But the thing about this show and this channel and this live chat is, like, I know that everybody's at different stages here. And when I started this channel, I never wanted to get too far ahead of the people who are new to Bitcoin. As basic as a question is, and that's why I take time even at the start of the show to kind of explain some things that, people like Craig's been here on the show for a while. Noah's been here for a very long time. Daniel, like, they know all this kind of stuff. And I kind of feel bad wasting their time talking about it. But I also know that there's people who maybe weren't here yesterday and who are just trying to learn about Bitcoin. So I think that you still have to, that was my mission. I didn't want to get too far of everybody, because that's something that I struggled with Bitcoin, was like, I'm trying to learn, but the people I'm listening to are so far ahead of me that they're glossing over the things that I don't understand yet. So it's hard to listen to conversations and discussions when they just they say something that they think that everybody's going to understand, but half the people watching have no idea what they're talking about. So I kind of wanted to do the opposite of that and find out what those people are talking about, but then dive in a little bit further and see, what's really going on there. Kev says, what are the elections for Canada? Any pro-Bitcoin politicians? Yeah, actually, Pierre Poilievre was, he talked about Bitcoin for a while, and then it crashed to 15,000. And then the media, the Liberals, the NDPs, all went after him for that. But he hasn't talked about it for a while. Arthur says the dictionary entry of failing upwards has a Kamala picture on the side. And Justin Trudeau. Dale, Avonlea Golf Course is for sale. That's the crazy thing about that, going back to 88 Sats story there, is that I know a lot of people in the group and a lot of people, or a couple people I talked to about it, they think that we're going to get like this municipal course, just like here in Manitoba, or just like an Avonlea, or like a local course here. But I have much bigger plans. I'm thinking like Cabot, or like Sand Valley, or Pebble Beach. Like, that's what I think that one Bitcoin is going to be able to buy. Maybe not in 10 years, but you'll start with something, and then you'll trade up. Never sell the Bitcoin though. We won't be selling the Bitcoin. We'll just be taking on a loan for it. Buck 52,000 says, I really like the video about MicroStrategy you recently posted. You confirm my internal thoughts about the stock, but sometimes I think Saylor is a snake oil salesman. My only reservation. Yeah, I mean, the thing, you can be as paranoid as you want to, and you can have your opinions about people, but for me, unless he does something that is a really big red flag, then I'm going to trust him. Everything that I've seen from him, what he's talked about, what he's done for Bitcoin, has been positive. So I know that as Bitcoiners, we have this very paranoid lens on the world. But until he does something, I don't think that we have any reason to be doubting him. That's my opinion on it. Tom Story, good to see you. I guess it all boils down to the weather. Socialism is everywhere. Yeah, you're right. Bodie says, I remember Apple back in 1986. They were blowing away IBM back in the day before the internet desktop publishing was the shit. Shizwit. That's, Tesla's not a bad investment. I would put it not up there with MicroStrategy, but I would put it up there with the best in terms of behind Bitcoin. Mostly because of what they're doing. I know a lot of people have different opinions on Elon. He's very much grown on me in the last little while. Twitter's a problem for sure. I think that Twitter today versus 4 years ago, though, is much better than it was. And I think that that's all that we can really ask for at this point. People have this crazy idea that somebody's going to flip a switch, somebody's going to come on the TV and tell us that, everything's good now. But that's not reality. It's just like different stages of it, right? So if you just look at Elon, Twitter today, I would say that is much better than it was 4 years ago. And that's all you can do. Is it perfect? No, it's the furthest thing from perfect, but it's better. And that's, that shows to me that we're going the right direction. RIP Uber, exactly. Autonomous car is going to take over. I couldn't agree more with that, especially in the bigger cities. What else do we got here? What's everybody's favorite stocks? I like Tesla. Tesla also has a bunch of Bitcoin on their balance sheet. One of the very few public companies who has Bitcoin on the balance sheet is Tesla. I'm all in on Tesla, Bitcoin, and MicroStrategy. I think that that's a very good as much as I love Bitcoin, as much as I'm all in on Bitcoin, I do think that you should have some other things, especially if you had money in the old system, right? That's the key there. If somehow you've managed to avoid the 9-to-5 job, all your money's in under your mattress, then yeah, Bitcoin is obviously the preferred option. But 99% of people aren't in that camp. So a lot of people do still have their wealth tied up in the old system. So consider allocating that to the Teslas and the MicroStrategies. 20% chance we get a bad outcome. Yeah, I thought 80% was a little bit. You probably should have went with like 90 or 95%. I think that people would have felt a little bit more comfortable with that. Tesla has almost 10K Bitcoin. Yeah, which 10K Bitcoin is a lot today and in the future. Coquiro Minez, half a Bitcoin for a robot. Yeah, I'm not paying that today. But just like, the prices of everything in Bitcoin is going to fall, I think the robots will be right in line with that. Okay, we're almost at the bottom of the questions here in the comments. All right, Juan Lolito. As memes are, this okay, I like where this is going. As memes are clearly the narrative of this cycle, how about taking a small percentage and put it into Doge? The NR meme on Bitcoin as a leverage play. Don't want to shill anything, just an idea. Again, I feel like I've been very consistent with my messaging here, and you should never listen to what I say. You hear it, maybe you enjoy seeing Arnie on the screen once in a while. But like, you have to make your own decisions. You have to put the time, the work in yourself. But like, kind of my opinion on this is I have no issues with Dogecoin. I have no issues with Monero. I have no issues with Litecoin. I have issues with Ethereum. But, I don't have any issues with meme stocks like that. I don't. But you have 95% of your crypto, your digital assets in Bitcoin. And then you can do whatever you want with the 5%. Buy some Doge, buy some Litecoin, buy some, what's the other one? I forget what it is. Digibyte. Who cares? It's gambling, but at the same time, like, I agree with you. Like, if this whole thing with Tesla, with the robots, with Twitter, like if he implements Doge into all this instead of using Bitcoin to go back and forth, it's going to be valuable. But at the same time, you have to keep in mind that there's no proof of work. I mean, is it proof of work, Doge? It's not the same though. I know that. But it's not Bitcoin. But as long as Bitcoin, as Jeff Booth says, stays decentralized, stays secure, then there could be a trillion meme coins. Doesn't matter as long as you have the baseline there, which is Bitcoin. So do as you wish with that. Our data and whatever AI we own will make our money. Yes, that is absolutely correct. Oh, MicroStrategy broke 200. Wow, that's a big milestone, I think. There, that'd be like $2,000 pre-stock split. Buck 52,000 says, I'm going to be dead by the time all this comes to fruition. I really don't think that you will be. I hope not. Noah says Doge is proof of work, so is Litecoin. Okay, I thought so. But what's the difference there? They don't actually. Do you mine Doge? Yeah, maybe you do. There's probably just less competition there. I don't know. I'm not an expert on Doge. Dale says it's about being on the right side of change. That's exactly it. And I've said this a lot with conversations I've had with people in the last couple of weeks. It's like, okay, Bitcoin could fail. I think that the odds of that happening are extremely small, but it could. So you have to be prepared for that. Don't have any sort of expectations of anything. Have your opinions, have your hopes, and align with that. But at the same time, Bitcoin could fail. But to me, the one thing that keeps me going is that I know that I'm on the right side of change here. If your heart's in the right place and you really want things to be better, you want to leave the world better than it was. If you're buying Bitcoin for your, as they say, buying Bitcoin for your last name instead of your first name, then your heart's in the right place. And I think that at the end of the day, at the end of the road, whenever you're, knocking on the door, that's the only thing that you're going to think back on. Is that, was your heart in the right place with the decisions and the things that you did in your life? It won't matter how much money you had. It won't matter how much Bitcoin you had. It'll matter of, your intentions. And only you are going to know that. Tesla has been vaporware since COVID. Last night's show was a nothing burger. Maybe. And that's the other thing too, is like maybe Tesla has bad intentions. Maybe their robots will be idiots. But here's the thing, that technology is available. And I know that there are some very, very smart people within the freedom movement, within the Bitcoin space, who can take that, replicate it, make it open source. That's what we're going to be using. If Tesla doesn't do that, that's okay. There's going to be somebody out there who has a self-driving car, a company that's open source, that'll collect your data, give it back to you, that you can verify, isn't stealing your data. There'll be companies who make robots that are open source companies who you can verify the code and you can verify that, it's doing what they said it's going to do. So forget Tesla, focus on the technology side of things there. And a great point here from Boom Me. Anyone verified the Tesla bots I would trust but prefer to verify? Yeah. I mean, if Tesla doesn't have their open source robots, somebody will. And that's what we're going to be using. Brent says, my broker threw up a huge red flag when I told him I bought Tesla. That confirmed my thinking is correct. Yes, that's great. Great thinking there. Whatever, I shouldn't say all the financial advisors, but usually whether it's the government or somebody like that, if they're questioning you or, telling you to do something, I do the exact opposite of whatever the government tells me to do. Duncan says, I will invest in dog. Yeah, how could you not? Look at that guy. Just a perfect angel. Perfect angel. Chris says, do you think Bitcoin will drop again this year? I don't know. I have no idea. If it does, we get cheaper sats. Personally, I don't think it will. I think probably in the next week, maybe 2 weeks, it's going to jump up quite a bit. And then I don't think we're ever coming back to where we are today. Maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks, maybe 4 weeks. But sometime in this next little while, it's going to be, it's going to go up, and it's never going to come back to these levels. Okay. 2-hour show here. Sorry. Well, I shouldn't say sorry. I think, people are still here, so people are enjoying it, I think. Timber Crasher says, I'm going to buy some smoking chicken fish. Never will I altcoin ever again. My meme coin now is MicroStrategy. I'll cash out MicroStrategy, not cashing out my Bitcoin. That's such great advice, honestly. Because a lot of people buy altcoins and meme coins, not with the intention of holding on to them forever, but they're buying it to try to make money. They think that it's going to go up in fiat terms in the next little while. And, with MicroStrategy, I think that it's the exact same thing. And the beauty of that compared to like an altcoin is like in Canada and the US, you can actually put it into a tax sheltered account. So you don't have to worry about hiding it from the government or anything. You can actually do this legally, where you can buy MicroStrategy as like your speculative investment that you're going to sell, exchange back to fiat. And you can do that without paying any tax on it. And that's kind of what I'm doing here in Canada with the TFSA, is I hold some in MicroStrategy just because I know what's going to happen with it. And I know I'm going to be able to cash that out, or some of it, when I need it. And I'm not going to be paying any taxes on that. So I 100% agree with Timber Crasher there. I think that's the strategy. Whereas Bitcoin, you don't ever want to sell your Bitcoin. So you buy it, you send it to your cold storage. You don't think about it for many, many years, maybe ever. But that's the difference between like a Bitcoin and a MicroStrategy. I'll probably keep like 10 MicroStrategy shares forever, just because. But I'll have that's the thing too. I'm not tied to it like I am with Bitcoin. Tesla got cooked today. Interesting, the stock. Okay, well, maybe I'm way out to lunch, or I'm just thinking differently than people. Who knows? Okay, well, let's wrap this up before 2 hours, because if it's 2 hours, I'm sure there's nobody on earth that's going to watch it. But anyways, Tobias Savage just zapped 500 for the good content. Thank you. I'm guessing to this one. I should have Arnie's wallet right here so I can see if any zaps are coming in. But anyways, what a show. What a day. What a hairdo. Let's wrap this up. I want to say thanks to everybody for being here, for sticking around for 2 hours. But this is, I don't know. I think that the more you know, kind of where we started the show today. It said, for there is nothing so pleasing as wisdom itself, when you consider how sure-footed and effortless the works of understanding and knowledge are. And I definitely do not claim to have any sort of knowledge. It's just talking through things logically and trying to see what's actually going on there, as opposed to your first initial thought on things. So anyways, happy to spend the day here doing this. We're trending in the right direction here. I love doing these shows. So once again, thank you everybody in the chat. We probably set a new record for people in the chat today. Let's check on Zapstream quickly. I want to make sure that the zaps aren't being missed. All right, I see a couple in there. I see a 2100 sat zap, which I don't see on my screen here, so thank you for that. And I see a 50 sat zap saying par 4. So thank you for that. It is Fat Zap Friday. This has been a record show in terms of the zaps today. So thank you to everybody on YouTube, on Zapstream. Thanks for sticking with us. Thanks for all the great discussions today. I do want to catch up on a few things here, though, before we go. The grinder said, goodbye, service staff, vendors, bus drivers. AI is going to make better mojitos than we do. We remove the parking lots and replace them with parks, but we suck the carbon out of the air. Is it? Yeah, I guess without cars, right? But wouldn't the trees make up for that, or no? I don't know. I think anybody who worries about the environment, but I know what the grinder's saying here. I agree. I think the big misconception in the world right now is that we need less carbon, but really we are carbon. We need carbon to survive. Soak says, so I can own a robo taxi, send it out to work for the day, bring it home and charge the battery from solar and mine Bitcoin with the, yes, that's crazy, isn't it? Let me read that again. Ahsoka. So I can own a robo taxi, send it out to work for the day, bring it home and charge the battery from solar and mine Bitcoin with the redundant compute while it's in the garage and while it's driving. Craig says, all privately owned Tesla cars will be able to become taxis. You choose when you want to use it, when it's out for hire. The app will call the car to your location, then drive itself to wherever you want to go. That's wild. Noah said, I saw some movie with the helper robot in the family. The robot hid all the alcohol because the mom was drinking too much. At first she was upset, but then she became convinced the robot was a force of good. Forget the name of the movie, though. Yeah, I mean, it's, again, I do think that in, just to round things out here, I do think that in current structure that we have, having self-driving cars, even the cars that we have now are just sending so much data to companies. Like there's actually certain vehicles now, they send reports and data to insurance companies. And they can say, you know, George's been driving way too fast. His insurance has to go up. Like that's a bad place to be. That's where we are today. But if you really see through, you know, where we're going to and the other side of this, where you're actually going to own that data. It's not being sent to insurance companies. It's not being sold to big corporations. You own it. And then you can decide who it goes to and how much you get for it. All right, well, let's get out of here. Thank you once again to everybody here. Sorry I couldn't get through all the things here. Sunshine says, go ahead and make your own mistakes with alts. I've been screwed by shit coins early in my journey. I admit it. Never happened again. The big players only want Bitcoin. Bingo. Okay, so thanks once again, everybody. Thank you for all the zaps today for Fat Zap Friday. Thanks for all the discussion points. And I noticed the one thing that I noticed here, and if you've made it this far, 2 hours. But the one thing I noticed when I was looking at the analytics yesterday is that more than half the people who watch the show and watch the videos do not subscribe to the channel. That really threw me for a loop. So if you're listening to this, if you're somehow watching this, just check, make sure you're still subscribing, or if you haven't yet, you know, I think it's the least that you can do, and consider it an investment in Bitcoin. Right? So have a great weekend, everybody. I appreciate you all. And we will, we'll see you first thing on, no, it's a long weekend here. I might do a show Monday. We'll see. But if not, Tuesday for sure. Bye-bye.